Today we're looking at every Marvel comic released with a cover date of June 1964. You will see that there was 11 comics released from Stan Lee, and we're going to look at the superhero issues today. There's a bunch of them, some really classics here today, starting with Amazing Spider-Man number 13. The series was now running monthly. It was getting more and more popular, and the print run had now been increased and was now selling 250,000 copies, proving that Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four were now ahead of the pack on the most popular Marvel titles. This issue is a major key issue. It features the first appearance of Mysterio and has Steve Ditko cover art. CGC census has been growing rapidly in the last few years. This has really been jumping up in price. Classic cover, white background. CGC has now graded over 2,200 copies. There are 15 9.6s or better. Heritage has sold over 400 copies of this book. Using the Overstreet annual price guide, we can see the growth in all conditions. And this book has basically tripled in lower grades, and in high grades, you can see it's going crazy. It's almost gone up 5 times in price, and that's for raw copies. Of course, check out eBay ended auctions to see how they're selling lately. And also gpanalysis.com, you can check out and see all the CGC super high grade copies and see what records they're breaking. On the CGC census, there is 1 9.8 and 14 9.6s. There are quite a few of the UK price variants graded, but the highest is an 8.5. Another major key out this month is Daredevil number 2, which means it is the second appearance of Daredevil with this red background cover. And it's also the second appearance of Electro. And the cover art is by Joe Orlando. Over 1,400 copies now graded by CGC. Only 14 9.6s or better. Heritage has sold over 350 copies. Overstreet price guide. This one's been a slower mover in this huge time period. The book has not doubled yet in low grades, and in highest grades, it has just doubled in raw condition. On the CGC census, there are 2 9.8s and 12 9.6s. There are a bunch of the UK price variants, but the average grade is only a 6. Also out this month, we have Fantastic Four 27. And this book has a red solid background cover and features the Submariner and Doctor Strange. We've also got 600 copies graded by CGC overall, with 8 9.6s or better. Heritage has sold over 157 copies now in 21 years. Using the Overstreet annual price guide, we can see over this time period, the book has exactly doubled in low grades raw, but the book has tripled in higher grades raw. And on the census, we have 1 9.8 and 7 9.6s. Only 3 of the UK price variants have been graded, the highest being an 8.0. Another cool book this month is Journey into Mystery 105. There's Thor on the cover with Mr. Hyde. And what's interesting, this book also features a guest appearance of the Avengers, which I believe is their first crossover. Not many copies of this book graded, though, at all by CGC, not considered a major key. 306 copies, but there are 15 9.6s or higher. Heritage has only sold 65 of this book. Yellow background. In the Overstreet price guide, again, in this time period, the book has exactly doubled in lower grades and has tripled in high grades raw. On the census, there are 3 9.8s and 12 9.6s. Only one of the UK price variant ever graded, and it is an 8.0. Strange Tales 121 has Doctor Strange in his second cover appearance at the bottom, and that features Steve Ditko art. And the top part is drawn by Jack Kirby with the Human Torch. Again, not many copies at all of this graded. Only 179 by CGC, with only 7 9.6s or higher, and Heritage has sold 46 copies. The Overstreet price guide, this book is extremely cheap for its importance and its age and rarity. It has only doubled in this time period, still a $13 book in lower grades. In high grades, though, again, the book has tripled, but it's still basically a $300 book raw for a beautiful 9.2. On the census, there are no 9.8s, but there are 7 9.6s and only 2 of the UK price variant graded, but the average is 4.2. Tales of Suspense 54 came out with Jack Kirby cover art. And the costume change for Iron Man mentioned is the removal of his pointy face mask tips. Again, not many copies graded at all by CGC, 283. Only 8 9.6s or better. Heritage has sold 77 copies. We've got the Mandarin. And in the Overstreet Price Guide, the book has more than doubled in lower grades, and it has more than tripled in higher grades raw. On the census, there are 2 9.8s and 6 9.6s. Only 2 of the UK price variant, and the average grade is 6.0. And also out this month, Tales to Astonish 56. It's the 151st Marvel Silver Age superhero book since starting up in 1961. This one features Giant Man and the Wasp battling the Magician, who has his first appearance. We've got Jack Kirby cover art on this black background cover. CGC, again, has not graded many of this at all, only 179 in all grades. 5 9.6s or better, and Heritage has sold now 47 copies. Another cheap book in the Overstreet Price Guide. You can still get this for $20 in lowest grades, raw. And the book has almost doubled. And in high grades, the book has gone up about 2.5 times. It's been stalled for the last few years. And on the census, we have 1 9.8 and 4 9.6s. None of the UK price variants have been graded at all. If we compare all of these books on the CGC census, we can see by far Amazing Spider-Man 13 has the most copies graded, over 2,200 copies. Following that, Daredevil 2, 1,400 copies. So that's the 2 big books of the month that everybody seems to want. At the opposite end, we've got The Strange Tales and Tales to Astonish, both with only 179 copies graded. If we look at the highest copies grade, we can see that almost every book on this list has a 9.8 copy, except Strange Tales 121 does not have any. If we look for what seems to be the most common book in the highest grades, it actually seems to be Journey into Mystery 105. There's 3 9.8s and 12 9.6s. And just for comparison's sake, I threw on Modeling with Millie 31, which also came out this month, but because it's not a superhero title, it's not as highly collected. It's actually a lot rarer than the superhero books, but there are only 2 copies graded, and they are both an 8.0. There you go. All the books for Marvel for June 1964. A lot of classics. I thank you for watching this. Please subscribe to this channel because we're learning the history of Marvel 1 month at a time. Thanks for watching.